Hello, hello. Welcome to the patch 12.13 rundown where we talk about upcoming changes in the patch that will be going live Wednesday on the 13th, tomorrow. Let's keep this short and sweet and get right into it. First off, we have system changes. Basically, it took some time off of the augment rounds and treasure dragon. Nothing too major here. If you ever need time to just read something, just feel free to pause the video. Traits, we have some changes here. Assassins got nerfed across the board. It's a fairly large nerf at 2 and a small nerf at 4 at 6. It's going to make just a random assassin spat a bit less, overwhelming. Astral, they're changing it completely. They're nerfing the AP across the board to make it a more playable 6 to 9 vertical comp. ASO is also getting a rework. A bunch of mages are getting buffed, so I think Astral is going to be very strong, or at least much stronger than it is now. They're also changing the toggle to where you can't bug it. You can't toggle in 6 as you roll. It's going to be based on what you had in the round before. Cannoneer is getting a little nerf at 2 and a buff for that vertical trait. If you look up here towards the top, that's a lot of AD. I wonder how good that is going to be. We have some Dawnbringer Mirage nerfs. That is good. That trait's been kind of busted. And Ragewing is getting buffed towards the high end, whereas the 3 is getting a little Omnivamp nerf. Overall, it shouldn't affect it too much. Moving on. Rebel nerfed across the board. Tempest buffed at 6 and 8. We'll see how that plays out. Trainer's getting its durability nerfed. The HP is going down of Namzi, but the damage is going up, and it will have a healing reduction effect. So this way, you might not need to make a Morello or a Sunfire if you're running Namzi. Warrior is also getting buffed towards the later numbers of it. Moving on to champions, Nidalee's getting nerfed. Lily and Nami are getting buffed. 2 mage units. These are fairly large buffs. I think they're also buffing Vladimir later on. So I think the mages are going to be very strong this patch. They're already pretty decent under certain circumstances. I think they're going to be much stronger on this patch. Very playable with the right opener. If you look at the Lilia buffs, they're actually really, really big. The AD nerf is fake. HP is good, attack speed is good, and the damage goes up quite a bit. So early game, before you get that Lilia 3, it's going to pack quite a punch. So I've had success with Lilia before the buffs, so I think it's going to be really good under certain circumstances afterwards. Tristana is getting nerfed a little bit. I think she was overperforming, so this should be nice. I think Trist 3 is still going to be a really strong comp that is very playable with the right opener. A Trist, pretty much. Moving on, Swain got nerfed. I think he's still going to be okay. A lot of stuff did get nerfed, so we'll see how that plays out. Varus got nerfed. Very easy to play comp. I think it's still going to be strong under certain circumstances. Volibear, they shifted some of his numbers around. It's always going to hit 4 targets, but the damage is going to come down a little bit. All right, moving on to 4 costs. Corki, Zaya, both got nerfed. They should still both be okay. I don't see them being all that bad. Still playable comps. Hecarim getting buffed is nice. This should let him get multiple casts off. Remember that Ragewing units gain 15 mana per attack. So this is going to be what? 7 autos to ult after he ults? That's not too bad. Not too shabby. Moving on to the dragons. Deja is getting... I don't know if this is a nerf or a buff. I think it's a nerf. The on-hit damage is going down. The big wind is going up. I think they're willing to buff it again if this isn't enough as well. Xiaoyu and Siphon are getting nerfed as well. Xiaoyu's damage is getting nerfed quite a bit because remember, this applies to all 3 autos, right? So it's quite a big nerf, and the CC is going down. Siphon, they're tackling the charge. It's not going to have as strong scaling in the charge, but the bite is still going to hit really hard. So I think these units will still be playable. They were overperforming by a lot. So we'll see if this makes it a more reasonable spot. Moving on, there's some changes to 5 costs. Buffs. Pike is getting an HP buff. Hopefully this lets him live. He randomly dies a lot, so this should be nice. Soraka, I think she's a strong unit already. She's getting buffs to her heals. That is a lot of healing. And Zoe, they are bringing down her mana. So This way, if you're not running Zoe within the mage comp, she'll cast more. And if you are running her in a mage comp, she will also cast more. So if you're playing Zoe, that's a plus overall. Moving on to some big dragons. So Aesol got a rework. Instead of like every time it ults, it gets bigger. Now it just like ults a random spot. And it makes them take more damage on top of doing damage as it is. After 20 seconds, the black holes are going to be much bigger and they're going to do more damage. So basically, the idea here is that he's not tied to mage cap, and you go for like a AP build, something like blue buff, death cap, gunblade maybe, and he acts as damage. That's really good at killing backline, maybe like a Corki or Zaya, and he also acts as utility to where if it does end up hitting frontline, the frontline will take more damage, so the rest of your team can kill them easier, right? So we'll see how this plays out. Hopefully this rework is a success. I think Aesol's a cool unit, and I would like to see it played a little more. Shyvana's getting a little touch up. They're nerfing the armor and MR, and they're making that ultimate hit a little bit harder, the fire. So if you give it like some AP, it should be more effective than it was before. Overall, not a huge change. Moving on to items. So they got rid of Astral Emblem. It was a little too problematic. Hitting 3-star legendaries at 7, not healthy for the game. Who would have thought? Bramble and Rose Thorn Vest, that's a Radiant item. They're getting their armors buffed. Good. JG and Glamorous Gauntlet, which is a Radiant version. They're buffing the AP and reducing the crit chance, which makes it not as tied to having an Infinity Edge. So this item is going to feel a lot better to build if you don't have that IE, right? So if it's just like a standard build, it's going to feel a lot more consistent. Some other item changes. Infinity Force doesn't have crit chance anymore. It's still going to be one of the best items, in my opinion. Murder Mana, the mana one, it's going to give you more mana. Great. If you're running Rise or something, that's going to be huge. It was already a good item on that unit. So I think this is just bringing a lot of these items more in line. Obsidian Cleaver, I guess they had too much AD, so they're nerfing it. Rocket Fist, HP nerf, it's still going to be very strong just due to its utility and the other stats it provides. Moving on to the Shimmer Scale items, they're nerfing the strong ones, they're buffing the weak ones. Crown of Champions, HP down. The Diamond Hands got a pretty big nerf. That immunity is going from 2 seconds twice to 1 second twice of immunity, so that's going to be nice. Draven's Axe, it's still going to be a good item. Gambler's Blade, I think this buff is very nice. 30 AP, 30 AS, that's a lot of stats, so that should be really nice. Goldmancer, they buffed the AP. Honestly, I feel like this item was very strong already, so that's going to be nice. And Needlessly Big Gem, the item no one really wants to see, now gives you 500 HP. That's going to be quite a bit early game. So I feel like people aren't going to be too upset to see that, although the gold from that one is not nearly as much as some of these other ones, right? Mogul's Mail also getting nerfed across the board. Pretty big nerf, actually. The HP goes from what? Oh, is that even a nerf? So it goes from 450 to 200. Oh, that is a big nerf. And the armor MR goes from 45 to 40. That's not a big nerf, but the HP goes down quite a bit. And it also takes longer to stack. Wait, 40 stacks is going to be so hard to get. Okay, I'm pretty sure this one sucks now. We'll see. Moving on. Just some augment changes. Best Friends nerfed across the board. Still going to be a good augment. And if Sins aren't in the meta, honestly, it's a buff to Best Friends, because I feel like the biggest issue with Best Friends is if you're playing like a backline comp with like Corki's Eye and you play against Sins, you can't clump. So overall, I feel like it's going to be fine if Sins are not in the meta. Blue Battery, it got changed. It no longer gives you 20 mana after casting. It sets your mana to 20 after casting, which means it doesn't stack with blue buff, right? So Karma, Ezreal, they're getting decent nerfs from that. Honestly, I don't even know who you're going to run this on. Mages, maybe. Cluttered Mine is going to give you more XP for... Oh, that seems like a lot. That's gonna be busted. Cybernetic Implants, the AD is nerfed, should still be good. Double Trouble, nerfed across the board, should still be good. That's a pretty big nerf though. We'll see. One thing they added is now if you have a 3-star unit already and you take Double Trouble, you now get a 2-star copy of it, which didn't happen before. So that's a cool change if you end up getting this late game and you have some 3 stars. Hallucinate, instead of 5, it's 6 seconds of damage reduction. Whatever. March of Progress buff to 5 experience instead of 4. That's a pretty big buff. We'll see how that affects the playability of this trait. Ricochet now hits more backlines instead of just the nearest target. So it's a buff. Not major, but it is a buff. Moving on to traits. Evoker is getting a small mana buff at 4 and 6, I believe that is. Which, if Aesol's in meta, maybe that's decent. We'll see. Guild, there's a new 7 guild. Okay, cool. Scale scoring updated tooltip to be clear. Okay, great. Shapeshifter is nerfed at 2 and buffed at 6. And Start Caller and Hyper Roll 3-star Soraka is going to be stronger. Small champ changes. Vladimir is getting his mana buffed. Remember, they buffed Nami, they buffed Lilia, so that's going to be real nice for the mage comp, right? Nico 3 buffed. Talon nerfed. This Talon nerf's nice. I think Talon's still going to be very strong, very good item holder. Bard's stun duration is nerfed at 1 star. Yasuo's AD is nerfed. Overall, good changes. Small augment changes. Archangels, Ginsu's both have stat counters now. That's kind of cool. Zero Portal now works more reliably with and against assassins. So hopefully this works against assassins now, because for the longest time it hasn't. Augments, combat training gives you more starting AD. Lightning Forge can no longer give you duplicate or an artifacts, which is cool. Or, I mean, honestly, I don't even know if that's a buff. I mean, I guess you don't want like 2 cleavers, right? But like 2 Trinity Forces? Oof, who doesn't want that? Makeshift Armor 3 is getting a small buff. And there's a bunch of bug fixes. I'm not going to read over these, but you can pause it. And I believe that's it. I think this patch is a step in the right direction. I don't know if the game's going to be in a perfect state, but dealing with these dragons, I think it's going to be really nice. Mages being playable, opening up the AP tree is also going to be very nice. And I mean, we'll see. We'll see how this plays out. Hopefully it's good, and good luck in your climb. Hope you guys enjoy the patch. It will be live on Wednesday the 13th. I'm not sure when. Keep your eyes on my Twitter. I'll post updates on there, and have a good rest of your day. Thank you for watching. Remember to like and subscribe.
Can you say Ooga Booga GV8 gang?